Welcome to The Prize Inside, your favorite source for exploring the human potential through the stories of ordinary people achieving the extraordinary. These aren't just people exceeding physical limits. They're doing the impossible, and they aren't done yet. Are you ready to exceed your potential? Then join in now with your hosts, chiropractors Rochelle and Jeremy Myers and massage therapist Bunny.
Welcome, everyone, to The Prize Inside, where we learn about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The Prize Inside is brought to you by MyPeakDirect.com. MyPeakDirect.com is an online store that holistic doctors have deemed the products exceptional. Ever have a difficult time knowing the best supplement to take? Maybe you've heard a suggestion and are not sure what is a good high-quality brand. MyPeak Direct is an online store that not only sells top-quality holistic supplies from top-rated companies, but everything they suggest, holistic doctors have deemed great. MyPeak does not recommend anything that its doctors have not even tried or have not tried firsthand. So check out www.mypeakdirect.com. Dr. Rachel Myers and Amy Segerman offer 4 components to support you as you begin your journey toward lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. Your coach will be with you every step of the way. Studies show that having a support system can help you get better results. It's why each client gets paired with a coach to guide them on the path to optimal health and well-being. Their coaches are there to empower and encourage you in real time. They know the journey you're about to embark on because they themselves have been on that same journey. So call 269-964-1441 and ask for Dr. Rachel or Amy to get started today.
Hello, guys. Welcome to The Prize Inside. This episode is kind of about discovering the stuff I've been writing about in the book that I hope to one day actually produce. So I'm kind of excited about this week. Let me start you off with a quote, however. "Do not judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant." Robert Louis Stevenson. So this week, I want to talk a little bit about something that has grown with me throughout building my chiropractic practice. One of the things that I fell in love with as a chiropractor was the opportunity to also be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. I didn't know that it would take me down the path of owning your own business. You know, you go into chiropractic, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to help a lot of these different people. And that's why you really get into it. You don't think, I didn't at the time, think about, I'm going to own my own practice and, those kind of things. I just wanted to get out and see as many people as I could and help them with no medication, and that was my idea, being a tool for people to explore that world as they go forward. So that was kind of an exciting part to me. But the doctor, Dr. Geimer, who we had bought the practice from, he had actually ended up practicing with us. I think it was 7 years. It might have been 6 years. But he stayed with us. We kind of grew and were able to buy the practice that way. But the last 2 years, he recommended I highly, before I take over, take some business courses, because he goes, to learn this on your own is really tough. You have to learn by fire when there's stuff out there that people have done it. So I went down that road prior to him retiring, and then continued after the process happened. What I learned is I absolutely loved the business processes that were occurring and the systems that were in place. And just learning about all these things absolutely made me a better chiropractor. It made me have better understanding of all these things because of the the true, what we're going to go into today, the leadership that it takes to begin to do your own business. This leadership actually isn't just about doing your own business. It's about everything in your life. One of the neatest things about the course I took was it was like a 2-year online intense. I had like 2 hours a day of training, homework every night. The coach that I had was intense. She had expectations higher than woo. And then I learned that quickly that I was going to be doing that, like writing up the different systems, these kind of things. But as I was going through that, the first week was the week that was kind of the funniest one. So she literally said on the phone, she was like, okay, so are you ready to tell me what your vision is? And I said, well, I want to adjust people and, do all those kind of things. She goes, okay, so as a business owner, so who is the president of your business? Because you can't be a chiropractor and run your business. I go, what do you mean? She goes, you can't do both. You must be one or the other. And when she did that, of course I'm livid. I'm like, no, that's why I got into this. I'm the one buying the thing. I want to be the one adjusting the people. That is how this goes. And she's like, no, this is not how it goes. Who is going to run your business so that you can be a chiropractor? And then as we kept talking about it, it was becoming more and more evident that she was saying basically that there's these certain roles that if you get in position in the right people in the right framework, you can be whatever you want to be in that business. It's a fascinating world where, like you didn't know that. And if you don't put those right people in the right roles where there's a focus there, then what happens is the business suffers for that. So what we learned was I couldn't be a chiropractor and the boss necessarily, right? So I was essentially saying, okay, I need to set up a team that I am not the boss, and that boss, goes on and runs the business while I am a chiropractor in the business. And it sounds easy, but at first, and just so happens, I'm the luckiest man in the world because my office manager, Gina, has been with me forever, and she was like the perfect person to take this journey on. She is as hungry for knowledge as I was going through the process. So we actually learned together and how this was working. And now we went from, I tell people my wife, Dr. Rachel Myers, myself, and Gina, to I think we're up to 14 people, and I think we have four doctors right now, actually. So we have 4 chiropractors currently, and off of those 4, we kind of create satellite clinics off of those because the system, the leadership is in place. And so what I wanted to talk about today is understanding that in order to change our sick care model of health, we must start looking at the leadership aspect. And leadership has to be defined different than what we've been doing in the past. A lot of people, when you say the word leadership, we start thinking in different terms of, you have the big person up here and everybody below that and those kind of things. Well, what happens in a leadership role, and I've learned this through so many good books that I've read on special forces training, like where a lot of these different, like the SEAL Team 6s and let me see if I can find that book for you guys. There's a really good book I just read. Sorry about this. Ta-da. Anyway, I'll find it in a minute. It was fantastic, though. Extreme Ownership. So, Extreme Ownership is the name of the book. It was fantastic because these military leaders they were Navy SEALs, and then when they came out, they found that their experience went very well with business practices of bigger corporations. And what was fascinating about listening to that book was the pieces that you had in place. So you had to, in a sense, in leadership, in healthcare, and in currently right now we look at our sick care model is this big giant. It's like the king in the castle, right? So the king is the doctor that you've chosen, and that doctor you've chosen, they give you the dictates that you go home and you do them or you don't, or those kind of things. But you're beholden to whatever that king does. So what happens in that scenario is that the king doesn't realize when he takes what I call dominion over your health, what occurs is that now, if that health goes awry, that person doesn't have any responsibility because that was the king's dominion. That was their responsibility to take care of that. So who looks bad in that scenario? I'll give you an example of a presentation I did to some healthcare workers and those kind of things. One of the things that always happens is in chiropractic, and it's so much better than it used to be, but medical doctors typically wear, almost everyone has a medical doctor. They've been to a medical practice office for a well check or, those kind of things. So sometimes they'll go in for like a back pain or headache. Well, what occurred back in the day was that the doctor would then say, okay, you have this back pain. Here is some medications or something like that. And then that person goes on, and let's say the medications didn't do what it was supposed to, so we continually do that. Well, then the patient says, hey, how about I try chiropractic? And so the doctor, having the dominion over the person, would say, I don't know if I like that idea. How about you continue down my road? Well, what happens in a lot of these, over time with the information that's out there, a lot of these people will then kind of do it anyway. They'll come into the office anyway. And then if it improves them, then the medical doctor will look bad. And that's what is the problem with having a dominion type leadership over someone. So when we look at a leadership role, just like, a chiropractor trying to be the CEO of the business, but I want to adjust people, but I want to make sure everybody does what I say they do. That's a problem because it's too much. And so what happens is my medical doctors become overwhelmed because that patient that they're taking care of is now they expect all their healthcare needs to be done by this doctor because the doctor has officially claimed dominion over that person. And that's where our sick care model goes hugely awry, because if we change the leadership, if every person on the team has a small part or a piece of that leadership encompassed, then that person's going to get a lot more out of that. And then the funniest thing is, like, on every individual, there's only one leader, and that's you. That's you as an individual. The doctor cannot be that. They can be part of your team, like we talked about before, creating a team, but you are your leadership. You are captain of your ship. You're captain of your Navy SEAL team. All those things, because there's nobody that's going to give a crap more about your health than you. And we have to start thinking that way. We have to change the dynamic of leadership in these roles. And you see it now where, you're having this big federal healthcare system trying to run you individually. And that's the problem. Because they can be a part of the team, but because we're beholden and we've taught and trained everybody to be basically overwhelmed by the system and experts will take care of us and those kind of things, we've given up our health to these processes. So a good example I always tell people is one of my good friends. He was getting up in retirement age, and I tell him all the time, he had this financial advisor. He's like 2 years away from retirement. I'm like, so how's it looking? He's like, I'm doing great. I'm making 19% a year. I'm like, or 19% return on my money. I'm sitting good. And he's like, you want to see it? I'm like, sure. So we sit down. I start looking at what he's got invested, and I go, dude, you're in some high risk stuff here. Are you sure you don't? I mean, you're 2 years away from retirement. Are you sure you don't? He's like, I don't even look at it. My financial advisor's got my back. Well, it's true. He's got your back, but the problem is because you don't take a leadership role in that portion of your life, that financial advisor has, let's say, 700 clients. Like, how's he going to know where you're at in that time frame? Only you're going to know that information. So what occurred to this guy was that he lost enough money in a major stock crash, basically dip, that he had to go back to work for 5 more years. And he switched the financial advisor out. He was just livid mad at the financial advisor for not changing it to a safer approach, and kept telling me I should have listened to you. I go, no, you should have paid attention. And that was the difference. And I go, you can't be mad at the financial advisor because he's not you. You're still an individual. You must take accountability and responsibility for the role you play. And that's where true leadership comes. As I grow as a leader in this business, I learn about the different accountabilities of the different leadership to try to not overstep all these different things, to know where things are at, but understand I need to take care of what my role is in that, let's say, business, right? So the better people I have that fit these different roles, the better we do. I've had some, we always laugh as like, we'll hire a new person, and a lot of times we won't know what their true talents are until later. We tried talent sheets, you can do all kinds of stuff, but until you see the day-to-day internal workings, you just don't know what their talent is, because some people are Johnny on the spot with certain things, and then some people are something different, and so some people are amazing at customer service, and some are amazing at the back end office stuff, right, that no one wants to do. And those are all pieces. Are they bad? No, they're parts of this leadership. Leadership is a giant pie, if you say. I love that about team sports. We always talk about, in the book, I have a couple of stories. I won't go into them today, but just where I fell in love, maybe not even with the sport. I always tell people basketball was my truly love playing sport. I love playing basketball, still to this day. It's super fun, guys, the different moves you can make. But football was the one that really got me understanding what a team concept is, and when you do a role in each one, all of you are part of that leadership team. And so there is no CEO in a true company. There, in my opinion, I think in a small business especially, if it's truly run well, all these different leadership pieces are diversified and spread out over many, because in that way you're hedging your bet on all these different aspects of it. The same goes for your health. Why wouldn't you, as the leader of your team, make responsibilities on your entire team? I'll give you an example. So let's say we go back to where we talk creating your own team, having a physical therapist that that you've worked with, having this medical doctor, having this chiropractor, having this nutrition person, having this personal trainer. All these things are on your thing. You give them small responsibilities of each one, and your job is to track that. Are they holding up their end of the bargain as far as the responsibilities? You go to your medical doctor. They're checking you for everything. Are they checking you, or are they just kind of moving you down the line? Are you getting what you want out of that? Explanations, those kind of things. Is your chiropractor, are they the chiropractor, doing what you want them to do, as far as like how you're feeling, having a good understanding of where you're at, your personal trainer, your physical therapist. You can go through the whole list. What I want you to do this week in this idea of leadership is take responsibility. Take the leadership that you were born with and start writing down what you want to see, right? So as you create your team of massage therapy too, so all these different pieces, you're going to create this holistic team around you. You need your medical doctor. If you need a specialist, let's say a cardiologist, interview them. That's your right. You're the leader. You're not there. You're interviewing them for a role in your company. And that's what I want you to understand. Your individual company, you're interviewing them. Do you have to just beholden them because they have dominion over you and do you have no control? No. That's the key. You're interviewing them so that you can make the moves that you deem necessary, or they will give you the warning signs of what you need to do. So when you look at this team aspect, go basically interview them as you go. What does this thing look like? How are you doing with their expectations of you as well, right? So those are all pieces that we could do. And I believe if we started doing this, instead of right now, we go to the doctor when we have a condition, right? Then we're trained to do that in all parts of our society, whether you have, private insurance or, community insurance or, those kind of things. You still have the ability to create your own team and keep expanding that team as it goes, and that is the thing. There's so much access to information and ways to make sure you stay healthy. It's just amazing, right? So I have a patient today that came in and she's getting treated for psoriatic arthritis. Psoriatic arthritis is kind of the arthritis that it can affect joints a lot. A lot of times it doesn't get to that point, but you can see this. It was basically called psoriasis, or like that skin rash on you. Many times, if you start looking innately, psoriasis has a lot to do with your gut bacteria, and then that your gut bacteria is off. So if your innate intelligence isn't responding well, you end up with these psoriatic rashes that can occur. But as she's going, she's been a great regular patient for a long, long time. So as we're going, she did what I would expect. She goes to her medical doctor and they start the process of like treatment for the psoriatic arthritis, but wanted to make sure that I knew that was going on in case I had other pieces to the puzzle for her. So, and that's where I started doing some research for her on the gut bacteria, what we can do to see if we can help the process along in coordination with whatever else she's doing. So that is one way of this lady taking a leadership role in her own company and saying, okay, I'm going to make sure that I get everybody's opinion on things. I see it all the time. The one that this one lady was kind of mad at me in the beginning, but she's good now. So I was taking care of her. She had a neck going into her shoulder, but on her that same shoulder, she had this massive like brace on her elbow. And so this elbow brace is, you could see she's going through some stuff with that elbow, but she never said anything. So I said, okay. So we're fixing her neck and her shoulder, and it's not my, thing. I just kind of I just said, what's going on with your elbow? And she's going, I'm getting treatment for it. And she left it at that. I'm like, okay. So we just kind of left it there. until a few weeks go by, and she is kind of coming in, and she's frustrated. But I said, "How's it going?" She goes, "Oh, my neck and shoulder and everything are great." I'm like, "Well, why are you frustrated then?" She's like, "Well, I'm still struggling with this elbow. I just don't get it. Like, I've been through so much treatment on it, and it's frustrating." I'm like, "Well, do you mind me checking it?" She's like, "You check elbows?" I go, "Yeah. I wish it was more out there, but chiropractic, yeah, we can check elbows, wrists, all those kind of things. I'd love to see what you got going in there." So as we go through, I could feel the bone was just not mechanically working right at all. And we had a good shot because of the treatment she was getting. You could tell they've kept the motion in there really good. So I told her this one required an adjustment of the elbow. So I went in, adjusted her elbow, and then said, "All right, well, we can see what happens. It just adds to what we can do. Just let me know." And then the next 2 days later, she comes sprinting back in, and she doesn't have anything on the arm. She has nothing. There's no massive brace. There's nothing. And she's just looking at me profound, like, "Why? Do you know that I've spent $12,000 on this elbow and that adjustment?" Now, I'm not saying that's the only thing, because there's plenty of elbows that have had to have $12,000 worth of stuff. But in that time frame, it was that she was kind of just beholden to what was there. Her team, she allowed this team to, take dominion over that elbow. It sounds crazy, but like by her, not on purpose, but by her not involving her other team, her other leadership pieces, she didn't get the best answer until later, right? So when we adjusted the elbow, it went completely away, and she learned a lesson. I go, "It's not their fault," right? I told her, I go, "Don't be blaming them for trying their best to get you better." I go, "Yeah, like, you got to keep looking. You got to, you created a team." But she was kind of new to the chiropractic, so she didn't know where this team role fit in, because I was a new set to her team. Usually a lot of people only go get the MD in themselves, right? That's pretty much the population. They have the medical doctor that they rarely see and themselves. And then that's their healthcare team. If you went out and got all these different pieces and had this nice healthcare team around you and your family, you're going to notice a massive difference. Sometimes you'll get an eye doctor, sometimes you get a dentist. Those are other pieces to this massive puzzle that could really, really help you as you go forward. Differing opinions matter, right? As a leader, you have to decipher those things. Think of your body as a company, and you have to take these different roles and see which one fits best. And I think that will be my 1% improvement this week. I want you to start to look and almost interview the people that you're putting on your team. And my suggestion would be, you should have a medical doctor, a pharmacist, you should have a chiropractor, obviously. You should have a natural doctor. The chiropractor could potentially have that natural schooling or teaching, so make sure you're asking that, because that could be in the same vicinity. Physical therapist, possibly. Personal trainer, right? Because a lot of times physical therapy, you have to have like an appointment, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes, or a condition, which kind of screws up the whole narrative of this. It's still like the sick care model thing, right? So sometimes starting with a personal trainer is a good way to go. Of course, eye, dentist, any kind of health specialties, like some people have a cardiologist or a lung, those type of things. Make a list of these things and interview them. See where they stand with the rest of your team, and see if you can bounce things back and forth between each part of it. I have in my this is crazy. I have a pulmonologist that understands that getting adjusted can sometimes help people with COPD. When they get their spine and their ribs and everything, that spinal, all those vertebrae moving in the right direction, they get a better pulse ox rate a lot of times. And so there's a pulmonologist in our town that loves when people get adjusted, and she says, I encourage it. And that helps her patients go, man, she is in it for me. She knows that will help my breathing. And so she is a very popular pulmonologist because she works with the team around her, understanding that, these people need those kind of things, especially with like breathing difficulties and those kind of things. So that's your 1% improvement from this podcast. You're going to go out, interview your team, create your team if you haven't done that yet. But I cannot wait to see what like a true healthcare team in your little healthcare company looks like. So hopefully you enjoyed it, kiddos. Have a great rest of your week.
Don't think for a second that this episode has reached its full potential, because we have plenty more for you on Myers-Chiropractic.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to the show on your preferred podcast listening service so you don't miss a minute of real stories, real people, and real results. We look forward to exploring the human potential with you next time, right here on The Prize Inside.